Hi. We're in the Squire shop, Unlimited Hydroplane boat shop. I'm speaking today with... We're in the boat shop of the U2 Unlimited Hydroplane here in Seattle, Washington, and I'm talking to Chip Hanauer. I'm sorry. We're in the boat shop of the U2 Unlimited Hydroplane in Seattle. I'm talking to Chip Hanauer and Jerry Zubich about the changes we've made this year in the U2 Unlimited boat. Chip, the hydroplane has gone under a lot of... We're in Seattle, standing in the Squire shop boat shop. We're in Seattle, in one of the shops of the Squire Shop Unlimited Hydroplane Racing Team headquarters, and I'm talking today with Chip Hanauer and Jerry Zubich of the U2. They've made a lot of changes this year in the hull of the U2 hydroplane, and Chip, what do those changes mean to you as a driver?
Well, basically, the changes that Jerry's engineered on the boat mean better stability, and the boat will just handle a lot better. We're looking at faster cornering and faster acceleration, being able to use more of the speed that's available. And it should mean faster lap times.
I see. So the boat actually will be a lot lighter, and you'll be able to go into the corners. Doesn't that make it a little more squirrely, or?
Well, with the reduction in weight, there'll be a change of CG, or center of gravity, and it'll have to be brought forward a little bit to compensate for the less weight. But basically, top speed will remain about the same. What we're trying to do is raise the cornering speed of the boat and also raise the acceleration speed.
Okay, there's been some other innovations. You have new electronic instrumentation.
Right. Jerry's installed basically what amounts to a remote dashboard inside the truck, and that will enable Jerry to monitor the gauges continuously while the boat's underway, where I, as a driver, because of the other things that are going on around me, can only glance at them occasionally. With the two-way radio system, if we do have a problem in any of the engine pressures or temperatures, Jerry will radio me via a two-way radio system and tell me what evasive action to take to ensure that the engine stays together.
How many boats will be equipped with that kind of instrumentation?
Right now, I think the Squire shop will be, of course, and the Pay and Pack, and the Circus will probably also be using radios.
Now, if you're still maintaining those kinds of speeds, it's kind of tough for those of us who don't drive hydroplanes to know what kind of physical condition you must be in to turn that boat under those conditions. What do you do in the off-season, or do you do anything?
Okay, most of the drivers now that are really in the top teams are really looking into physical conditioning as part of their year-round training. To turn the boat, just simply to turn the steering wheel at 170 miles an hour, let's say, it takes about 75 pounds to turn that wheel because of the water going across that rudder blade puts a lot of pressure on it. Also endurance, I run in some long distance races as well as lift weights and just general all around good conditioning.
Now I have to ask this question. It seems like an awfully dangerous sport. Now the boat's getting lighter, it's going to go faster, you're going into the turns much faster. Don't you think about the danger?
Well, you really don't think about the dangers you get into the boat. It really would enable you to go as fast as you need be. And you build up a tolerance to the speed. And after a while, it really doesn't feel like you're going much faster than, let's say, your car going down the freeway at 55 miles an hour. I think that's due to a lot of reasons. Part of it, you're concentrating so hard that you really don't have time to think about the speed. The boats are actually getting safer as they are going faster. And I know that sounds like a bit of a contradiction, but the engineering advances they've made in the past few years have made the boats much more stable and really safer all the way around.
Hydroplane's premier racing event, the Gold Cup, is going to be in Seattle this year, your hometown. How do you feel about that?
That's great. You know, racing in front of family and friends is great anyway. To win a couple of heats like we did last year was really exciting, but to be able to win the Gold Cup in front of our hometown would really be a childhood dream come true for sure.
Big things happening for the hydroplane this year. Next, we'll talk with Jerry Zubich and get an engine man's point of view. This year, the Squire shop will be equipped with new electronic instrumentation. What does that mean to you as a driver?
Basically, what it means is Jerry's going to be able to monitor the engine temperatures and pressures from the truck itself. He'll have an instrumentation panel, basically the same as the one in the boat. We'll be monitoring the engine all the time. While I'm on the race course, if a problem does develop, Jerry will radio me via the two-way radio system that we're installing, tell me any evasive action he wants me to take to correct the problem, and it'll free me up to concentrate more on racing the guy in the other seat and concentrating on going fast.
Okay, they won't be telling you how to drive the boat.
No, well, they may be telling me if a boat's coming up behind, for example, that's gaining on me, or maybe if I'm making progress on a boat in front. any information you think might help me on the race course, Jerry will relay to me.
Hydroplane racing seems like a strenuous sport. Does it take a lot of physical strength to drive those big thunderbolts around a corner?
Yeah, probably more than it appears. You're getting jostled around a fair amount, and also just to turn the steering wheel on the boat, you have to pull about 75 pounds to turn the wheel. That's because the water moving over that rudder blade at 170 miles an hour puts a lot of pressure on it. Also, I run and do a lot of endurance work just to keep my wind up and really keep everything as it should be.
This year, the Gold Cup, Hydroplane Racing's premier event, will be held in Seattle. That must mean a big race for you, in front of the hometown fans?
Yeah, it really is. We won 2 heats in Seattle last year, and that was a big thrill to win in front of family and friends. And to win the Gold Cup in our hometown in front of friends and relatives would really be a childhood dream come true for sure.
Now we're talking with crew chief Jerry Zubich. Jerry, I'm holding a model of the U2, and you've made a lot of changes this year in the spots and design. Can you explain those to us, please?
Well, yes, Ross. Simply what we did with the boat, turn it over here a minute. We took the main runners, which are these 2 services, and we're moving them outboard, giving the boat a wider stance. In turn, the boat should corner and accelerate quicker. And along with that, we are taking the wing and moving it to a backward stance, which gives the wing more effect on the hull. With that, a new deck made of foam, the boat should be considerably lighter, and we're hoping to obtain 143 mile an hour lap speed.
143 miles an hour lap speed is an average speed around the course. Will that increase your straightaway speed anymore? You're going about 181 miles an hour now or so, aren't you?
Ross, not really. It won't really have anything to do with our top end. It will affect, of course, the cornering and acceleration. And on a lap, this is where your time is made up. If we can make 2 seconds up in each turn, we'll be well over 145 mile an hour.
I see. Now, Chip was saying that with the boat changing its center of gravity, it's going to be lighter. It's going to hopefully handle better in the corners. What is that going to do as far as testing? You'll have to test quite a bit, won't you, to get the boat stable again?
Well, be a whole, like basically running a new boat, Ross. The weight change will, of course, affect the front end more because it's a lot more material you're working with. So we're planning on moving oil tanks ahead, water tanks ahead, and then with our new remote dash, we should be able to tell exactly what the hull's doing.
Are you pretty excited about having a remote dashboard?
Oh, you bet.
That's really going to help you out. Good. We are in the boat shop here, Jerry, and I see nothing but engines in here. How many engines does it take to run an unlimited hydroplane?
Well, normally speaking, when you're attending 8 to 10 races, you have to plan on at least a dozen engines. Right now I have 14 blocks in the shop.
14 blocks. And at how many, you've got assorted, we cut there. Jerry, hydroplane racing is basically a summer sport, yet you and the crew work all year long. What do you do all year long to get ready for hydroplane racing?
Well, like I said, we have 14 engines, and it's roughly around 300 hours per engine to go through them. And there's many multiplications, new tricks you want to try, so you do one at a time, and it's all I lost my words.
Jerry, hydroplane racing is basically a summer sport, yet your crew works year-round. What do you do in the off-season to get ready for a hydroplane season?
Well, Ross, as I said, we have 14 engines we're preparing. These engines require roughly around 300 hours of work to get them ready. There's no real set method. All engines are self-built one at a time. All parts are made special form, and therefore it takes quite a bit of time.
I see. Now, one thing that's interesting to me, and I think our viewers will find it interesting, is that all of these engines are not identical. You have different engines for different purposes. Is that right?
That's right, and largely by accident. There are Dash 3s, 7s, 9s, 600s, and 500s. We run normally the Dash 3 and 7 engine. Here are a few of the 600 series, which is a transport engine, a little heavier duty motor, but it requires a lot more modification.
And these engines were used in World War II fighter planes, is that right?
These were transport engines. Those Dash 7s and 3s were fighter planes, which are, again, the engine is built lighter, so we're trying these heavier styled Rolls-Royces to see if we can get a little more power out of them.
I see. And you use different engines for qualifying heats and final heats, is that right, or is that?
Qualifying, we normally stay with our race combinations because I feel the driver should have the amount of time with the equipment he can at actual racing speeds and a feel of it. For the final heat, we usually try to put in something fresh and maybe a little more power.
How long does it take to get one of these engines in and out of a hydroplane?
With the quick disconnects and the way we're set up, we can do it in 20, 22 minutes.
In 20 or 22 minutes. So if you blow an engine in one heat, are you out or can you qualify again?
Oh, we can always get into the second heat.
We can always get into the second.
You bet.
Thanks, Jerry. Jerry, it's true that hydroplanes ride on about half of this propeller and a few inches of surface on the actual sponson. This is a conventional two-bladed prop, and is this one that you ran last year?
Yes, it is, Ross.
And what would you, this year you've gone to a three-bladed prop. Why would you go from a two to a three-bladed prop?
The efficiency now that they found in the three-bladed props allow the boat to accelerate quicker and hold a better top end.
Oh, I see.
Years ago, with the older style hull, the three-blade had a tendency to jack the back of the boat up too far, but now with the new hulls and the brake move back, the three-blade's almost a requirement.
Now, are these made in the United States?
These are cast aluminum, or cast DR, no, cast stainless.
Cast stainless?
In the United States.
These
here.
are very heavy. They weigh about 20 pounds apiece. See how broad the blade. Now, here's a broken propeller. Jerry, what happens when a hydro breaks a propeller when it's running full speed?
It's not often you get to get the propeller back because, like it happened to us in Pasco, when the propeller broke, it broke the shaft and took the bottom of the boat out with it. This is unusual that you see a propeller come back broken. We're trying to get away from that more and more by the bigger, thicker blades that we're running now and the shot peening and relieving them we're doing.
Oh, I see. Well, these are expensive little guys, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
What does a propeller cost?
Well, the propeller in the rough is somewhere around $1,200. But
Propeller.
then there's a lot of machine work and polish time in order to get all the flaws out of it, and then you have to work everything in to fit the boat. I've never yet had a propeller just from the shelf get on the boat and run correctly. You're always spending another $200 or $300 on them, getting them refined and cut and clipped and balanced.
You can tell a big difference just with a little extra polish on a
Oh,
propeller.
a night and day difference if there's 1/8 of an inch put on here or taken off of the trailing edge.
Now, will one propeller last all season, or do you have as many propellers as you have engines?
No, we're planning on running with 3 or 4 propellers. The different race courses require a different propeller, a sharp, short turn, longer straightaways. Every race course has its little fluke. So you have to have a propeller and a gearbox to match up for that race.
Thanks, Jerry. We're going to look at one of your engines now. We're with Dan Walters, the assistant crew chief. And those of you who have had auto shop or worked on your own cars can appreciate the size of these Rolls-Royce Merlin engines. Dan's going to walk us through the construction of an engine. And Dan, what have you've got a crankshaft and your hanging rods? Is that?
Yeah, this is just a completed crank with rods. And what the next step would be we'd take a blank case, an empty case, and we'd fit it in this thing here called a rollover stand, and it'd be set upside down. This whole stand turns over, and we'd use a crane and we'd set the crank inside the case, and then we take the oil pan, which is under here, and we put that on and bolt that up, and then we rewrite the engine like it is now. And then on these rods here, there's no pistons on them yet or anything, and then we insert the pistons, and we put ring compressors around them, hold the rings in. Then the next step would be, you flip the engine stand up, so this is straight up and down, and you take a bank assembly, the cylinder and the heads and valve, and you use a crane, and you set that all on. And then from there, you can go a lot of different ways. It depends what parts are done. You can put on the intake manifold, would go next.
We'll see one of those later.
Yeah, later. And then up here, this is called the wheelhouse. This here drives the magnetos and the cam towers. And on the bottom here, I don't know if you can see it, it's a fuel pump.
Yeah, I don't think we can see
Drive.
it on our camera, but we'll.
Okay, and then from here, it's called a blower. It's what the carburetor sits on. And that goes on, that's about another 2 or 3 feet long. They're over there on the shelf, they're pretty big.
To get it from this stage to that stage, how much time are we?
Well, once the sub-assemblies are made up, you can get about 2 engines a week done.
2 engines a week. Okay. Well, let's take a look at a finished engine.
Okay.
Well, here's a completed Rolls-Royce Merlin hydroplane engine, Dan. Looks pretty awesome.
Yeah, they are. They're about 8 feet long and 30 inches wide.
How many cubic inches is an engine this size?
It's about 1,650 cubic
How
inches.
does that translate to horsepower?
It develops about 2,800 to 3,000 horsepower.
Could you point out some of the parts?
Yeah, well,
Anything
okay, here's an
different?
engine. Yeah, from the last engine, the bank's now on and the manifold is. And here's the blower. This is a 2-stage blower. And the air gets sucked down through the carburetor, and it gets compressed. And it gets shot through this tube here, enters the manifold, and gets distributed to the 12 different cylinders. You know, and the blower helps create a lot more horsepower because it compresses the air.
Have you had to make any modifications to these engines to use them in hydroplanes rather than using as an aircraft engine?
Yeah, we, well, for boat use, we call this the front, whereas the airplanes call it the back. And we flip, their carburetor was upside down, we flip them upright, and there's a lot of changes that are hard to show now.
Do you actually develop more horsepower than they did? Or
Yeah, they only developed, you know, we developed about twice what they did.
twice the horsepower?
Yeah.
Okay.